Building body paragraphs for Major Assignment 1. When building body paragraphs, you will want to begin with a topic sentence that states what one thing about narratives that paragraph will show or discuss. You may also wish to briefly define or explain this feature or aspect of narratives to clarify it for your audience. Then you will want to illustrate this point with a specific example from one of the narratives we read. Quote or paraphrase a specific passage from the narrative and explain how we see this feature or aspect and/or how this functions in the narrative. You may then consider further illustrating this with an example from a second narrative we read, again analyzing how this illustrates the point you are making. End the paragraph by coming full circle, relating the examples back to your topic sentence, and noting how this feature or aspect is common to narratives in general. Note that you will need to use examples from one or more of the narratives we read in each body paragraph of your paper. You will also need to use at least one quote or paraphrase from either Delestrates or Gray's article somewhere in your essay, but not necessarily in every paragraph. You may consider how what they say relates to one or more of your points, or helps you to explain or define one of your points, and use them where appropriate. Let's look at the two example body paragraphs. The first body paragraph begins, "Unlike other forms of literary pieces, narratives effectively express ideas in an interesting and entertaining way by engaging readers' imagination, rather than just simply stating facts to express ideas." This topic sentence lets us know this first paragraph will focus on how narratives engage the reader's imagination to express ideas. But how do they do so? The paragraph then turns to some examples to illustrate and show this. For instance, in Beauty When the Other Dancers the Self by Alice Walker, she expresses the idea that one's perception of their self and others' perception can influence one's life. Walker writes, "Almost every night I abuse my eye. I rant and rave at it in front of the mirror. I plead with it to clear up before morning. I tell it I hate and despise it. I do not pray for sight. I pray for beauty." She felt this way because her beauty was impaired and other people called her one-eyed bitch, and because of this, she would walk with her head held down. This is a nice example, but how does it show the writer's point about engaging readers' imagination? Well, she then explains, this engages readers' imagination as they would try to empathize and imagine the scene of Walker abusing her eye, walking with her head held down due to hers and others' perception of her eye, all while grasping the idea in the narrative altogether. This may be stated a little more clearly, but it does make the point. She then further illustrates this idea with a second example. Another example is in Superman and Me by Sherman Alexie. Alexie expresses the idea that reading can help one advance in life. Alexie remarks how he read books late into the night until he could barely keep his eyes open. He read books at recess, then during lunch, and in the few minutes left after he had finished his classroom assignments. And because of this, Alexie was able to defeat the Indian stereotype and become a successful writer. Again, how does this illustrate her point? She explains, here readers can imagine Alexie's drive as he strives to become a successful writer and also feel his sense of determination. She then ends the paragraph connecting these examples back to narratives in general. Narratives effectively structure their content, like the ones mentioned above, as a way to help engage readers' visualization of the ideas present in the story. The second body paragraph works in much the same way. It begins with a nice topic sentence and a brief explanation of the point. A powerful and effective way authors communicate their purpose to readers is through their use of point of view. In this way, narratives encourage readers to reflect on their worldviews and how other people may feel. It then provides an example. The narrator of This Is What It Means to Say Phoenix, Arizona, for example, remarks, "Victor didn't have any money. Who does have any money on a reservation except for the cigarette and fireworks salespeople?" It then explains what this example shows and how. The sarcastic tone of the third person point of view here shows how narratives may be used to subtly critique readers, in this case, making readers confront their views and understanding about Native Americans and reservation life. This helps open readers' eyes to how societal attitudes affect the way we think about Native Americans. She then transitions to another example from a second narrative. Narratives can also shift the focus away from readers and cause them to have empathy for others. In Kennedy's narrative, readers know what she thinks and feels. This puts her story in the perspective of not merely as an African American woman, but more so as a concerned mother. She reflects, and if my parenting pays off, he will be law abiding, he will respect authority, but will that be enough? She then explains her idea about point of view and uses evidence from Gray's article to help her analyze the example and explain her reasoning. This shows Kennedy is scared for her son's life, which makes readers feel bad for her. Gray claims sensing and in some way feeling the sadness or fear of another person is a first step toward wanting to help that person. So, witnessing the story through Kennedy's perspective allows readers to empathize with her situation and creates a desire in them to help people just like her. Finally, she ends the paragraph circling back to the topic sentence and explaining how the examples illustrate how narratives in general use point of view. The use of point of view, therefore, is one way writers of narratives can move readers to gain a broader understanding of the world and other people.